So I've gone back and forth on the NBA. I think it's really important for the NBA to get back. I wasn't very optimistic driving to work Sunday night. I thought, I don't know if it's going to happen. But I thought of something this morning, and I want to start with this. The Chinese Basketball Association, and we've kind of watched what's happening in China with the coronavirus. They were going to restart the basketball operations, and then they put it on hold. And Brian Windhorst says, is that a bad sign for the NBA?
It's been a really bad week in Asia in terms of restarting basketball. The Japanese league started and failed to restart last weekend. The Korean league was supposed to start this weekend coming up. They've shelved their entire season. And now the Chinese league, which called all their foreign players back with the intention of restarting in mid-April, has pushed until May, which is a 4-month hiatus. They have to create a bubble where players, referees, officials, trainers, coaches can feel comfortable in operating in, and they haven't been able to do it. And that's what the NBA is going to do, and I think it's going to prove very difficult.
But I want to say something why I think the NBA has got a real fighting chance here. The biggest brand in this league easily is the Lakers. And the biggest personal brand is LeBron, and it's not really close. Giannis, Kawhi, great players. They're not LeBron's brand. And they're both humming this year. LeBron's humming, and the Lakers are humming. Both excellent. You really got to get this year in. If the Yankees are really, really good, and they've got a bunch of stars, and you've got a crisis or a lockdown, you at least know the last images of that season will be somebody in Yankee Stadium potentially hoisting the banner, hoisting the trophy. That's a great last image. And I'll give you an example. LeBron's first title in Miami. We never discredit that. Do you know that was a shortened season? We never talk about that. We never bring that up. Why? Because the last image, we loved Dwayne Wade. We were so happy for LeBron, Chris Bosh. We saw images. We knew Pat Riley. We never talk about that. We forget that it was a shortened season, and we've never once held that against LeBron James and D. Wade. It's like movies. Usual Suspect, good movie. But what makes Usual Suspects to be considered by many to be better than it was, it's got a great ending. It's got a great last 15 minutes. And it covers up, which is mostly, it's an okay movie. But if you ask people, you ever watch Usual Suspects? Oh, my God, it's like Gone with the Wind. It's like Goodfellas. It's like Godfather. It's the best movie. It's an average movie, slightly above average, with a great ending. This is why you got to get this season in. Because if the last image, there's a chance that it's going to be LeBron in a Laker uniform, third team winning a title, we're not going to 20 years on a 30 for 30 talk about the virus. We're going to talk about LeBron and the Lakers. The last image, the last 10 minutes of the movie are going to be so unbelievable. You are going to go, wow, LeBron, third team. Wasn't that the year? Yeah. But God, that's better than Jordan. I mean, he's way better. And I'll fill shows for years on, LeBron's better than Jordan. Not that damn virus. And there's another part of this. Whenever there's a downturn, whenever there is a crisis for an American business, and the NBA, this is a crisis, right? Go back to things that are dependable. Go back to the basics. I'll give you an example. In the 90s, Apple was almost bankrupt. Remember, they got rid of Steve Jobs. And the stories are Apple was about, there's documentaries on it, about 3 months from bankruptcy. Steve Jobs came back. And what did Steve Jobs do? Do you remember what Steve Jobs did? I got his quotes this morning. He slashed 70% of Apple's products. The stuff that was new and niche and cool and you didn't really know it. Steve Jobs said, we wanted to get back to basics. Focus on simplicity. The things we knew people needed and loved and were familiar with. They got rid of all the other stuff. In the NBA, you know what the basics are? LeBron, the Lakers, In baseball, the Yankees. For a long time, Jeter. Those are the basics. When you come out of a crisis, you have to deliver for the public. Things they trust, things they like, things they know, simplicity and basics. LeBron and Lakers, with the chance to be the last image of this season, will take one of the strangest, saddest, most tragic years, Kobe's death, the virus. But if the lasting image is that, that's what we'll talk about 20 years from now. That's the power. That's the power of titles and LeBron and the Lakers and championships and our devotion to sports. Listen, Mark Cuban's a smart guy, and he has been very critical of a lot of businesses during this crisis. But listen to the days he's talking about.
The over-under would be June 1st, and I'm taking the under. That hopefully by middle of May, we're starting to get back to normal, and the NBA is playing games, maybe not with fans, but we're playing games because sports plays such an important role. You know, people want something to cheer for. People want something to rally around. People want something to be excited about. And if the Mavs and the NBA in general can get out there and start playing games in May so that they're on TV, I mean, sports is what we need right now. And I think sports will, I think we're coming together as a community, particularly in North Texas, but I think we need it. And I think the NBA is ready to play that role.
To give you an idea of the basics being LeBron and the Lakers, if you take out Christmas Day, which is always the highest rated NBA regular season day, if you take that out, the 11 highest rated NBA games so far this year, 11 for 11, LeBron and the Lakers. They got a chance to win this thing. It will cover up some of the awfulness and the obstacles and the bumps and the crisis. 10 biggest grossing movies last year. Movie theaters, last few years, people aren't going. They were all sequels or franchises. What do people like? What are the basics? What do we know? What do we put our arms around? What do we trust? What are we familiar with? I think Mark Cuban knows it. You got to get back. Whatever it is, modify it. Test everybody, but you got to do everything you can to have a season. Chris Broussard, the former New York Times sports writer, Fox Sports NBA analyst. Weekdays, The Odd Couple, Chris Broussard and Rob Parker, and he is joining us now. So Mark Cuban said yesterday, you can tell he's the business guy. He's looking at all these big macro trends with the virus. He said, let's resume by the middle of May. Less games, but we'll get it done. Would anybody complain in your opinion, Chris?
Well, first of all, I don't even know if that's going to be possible, with the CDC and the things that they're saying. Obviously, everyone associated with the NBA wants to get things started as soon as possible. But it seems like June is really the earliest they're going to get started. Now, here's one other problem with what Cuban is saying. Remember, all the facilities are closed right now. So you have players who aren't able to work out not only at their facilities, but they can't even go to a local gym, a Lifetime Fitness or somewhere, and get a workout in. So you can't just throw guys right back into games because they're going to be out of shape, and that's when you increase the opportunities for them to get injured. So the fact that the facilities are now shut, if that remains for a little while longer, there's no way. I don't think there's any way anyway that they can start in mid-May. I think he's being overly optimistic.
If you just went straight to a playoff, let's be honest about this. Everything's been established. Are we really going to play another 17 regular season games to get the Wizards or Blazers in? If you just said, just like LeBron's first title in Miami, it was a strike-shortened year. Nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody cares. We don't talk about that. If you just said, it's been established. We know who's good. We know who's not. And went right to the playoffs, you could absolutely start in mid to almost late June, and that's 3 months from now. Why not just do that?
I felt the same exact way up until, again, a week and a half ago when they locked down the facilities. You're right. They played on average 65 games for each team. We know who the best 8 are in each conference. If you haven't established yourself as a playoff team yet, then tough. I get that, but here's the problem. You're going to have guys off 60 to 80 days, okay, without being able to get in NBA shape. So, number one, if you throw them right into the playoffs, the quality of play is going to be poor. And when your most important games are on the line, you want teams to be close to their best, if not at their best. Secondly, as I said, you're going to increase the chances of guys getting injured if you just throw them right into the playoffs. I think, Colin, they're going to have to play like a 5 or 6 game regular season just to get guys back in NBA shape. Because if you don't get them in NBA shape and you throw them in there, God forbid some of your stars get injured. Like, let's say if a James Harden, because he's not in NBA shape, got injured in the playoffs, in an injury that might keep him out for next season. So you run the risk of not only messing up this season, but next season as well if you just throw these guys right into the playoffs and they're not in shape. So I think for those reasons, plus the owners really want to play at least 70 games because that's the contract they have with their regional networks where they can get the TV money. They always promise them 70 games. So there's a number of reasons for the NBA to play 5, 6, 7 regular season games before they restart the playoffs.
We know LeBron has influence with Adam Silver. He got a longer break in the All-Star game, less back-to-backs. I don't think LeBron wants to throw this season away. And this Laker roster is not getting younger. It's not a lot of free agents on the market. And I don't say this. I would totally understand LeBron saying, hey, Adam, let's try to get this puppy. Let's not throw this season out. And I don't have any problem with that because I do think we can get it in. What do you make of the Lakers spot where they're old? They got some brittle players. This is not a year you want to just throw away.
No, Colin, you hit it on the money. And Rob Parker and I talked about this last night on our radio show. Of all the players that are hurt by, and all the players want to play, so they're all hurt by this. No one is hurt more than LeBron James. Because he's not getting any younger. And people want to look at, he's only 35, 36 next year. No, don't look at the number of the age. Look at the wear and tear. It's his 17th season. Look, I would assume when LeBron comes back because of how hard he works and, his training and the money he spends on his body, I think next year in his 18th year he'll be very good. But I don't know that for sure. So every year that goes on, history and logic tells us LeBron's going to get a little bit worse. And so he's playing great basketball right now. Danny Green's not getting any younger. Avery Bradley, who has problems staying healthy, who knows what the future holds for him. They are a team where this year is probably LeBron's best chance to win a championship. I won't write him off next year. But there's no question about it. This season is his best opportunity to win a ring. And I said this, Colin, on your couch before. Last year, 2 years ago, when LeBron was considering going to the Lakers. You have to understand, you don't go to the Lakers and make the fans happy just because you got to the second round of the playoffs. LeBron has to come here and win a championship. All of the other Lakers, except for Elgin Baylor, who were on his level, won championships. So LeBron's got to win a ring, and this is probably his best chance to do it.
By the way, your sources, you talked to them. This morning, are they optimistic or pessimistic?
Well, it's funny because initially guys were very optimistic when, they announced a couple weeks ago the season is suspended. I mean, to the point of we'll be back in 3 weeks, we'll be back in 30 days. And then when they shut down the facility, guys got very, doubtful. They really got doubtful and pessimistic about whether or not they're going to be able to really play this season. But what's driving everyone from players to executives to the league office is the loss of revenue. And so they're going to do everything they can, Colin, to play this season in some way, shape, or form, because if they don't play the season, they stand to lose, according to reports, $1 billion plus. So they all want to play, even if it means playing into September. So while guys are a little pessimistic, they do feel like, look, we got to play this season. We have got to play this season because there's too much money to be lost if we don't.
Odd Couple, Chris Broussard, Rob Parker, Fox Sports Radio, Absolute Riot, 7 to 10 Pacific, p.m. Eastern. Good stuff, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern, on Fox Sports Radio and iHeartRadio. Thanks for stopping by today, bud.
Thanks, man. Stay safe.
It's interesting. I don't think you lack empathy or compassion wanting to play. To me, we're late March, April, May, June. Can you start the playoffs by late June? Wrap them up by August 7th. 2 days for the draft, 7 days for free agency, Labor Day weekend, football, take it away. I think it works. I think the key is you do camp in about 10 weeks, then you do about 2 weeks at camp. Let's say 3 months from today. 3 months from today, the playoffs begin in earnest. And then if you have to play the first couple of rounds with no fans, you do it. Tighten up the camera angle, play. God, networks can pump in fake crowd. Doesn't matter. The bottom line is you play the games. But I do think there are some signs with corona virus. I think you have really good leadership in California and Washington State and New York City. Those are some hot spots. I do see a little light at the end of the tunnel economically. I don't know. It's obviously a very fluid story.